What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. Anyways, as far as SPY is going, we have a nice flag that's forming right over here, making this breakout. And this is looking bullish overall in terms of the trend. However, we need to see if SPY could hold above that 638 area to continue to push or not, or if we end up losing some critical support. So it is possible we come back down to fill this gap and we get close to like 638, but then we need to bounce off 638 and continue to push for like 642 plus. If we lose 638, then we could be dipping lower all the way down to like 635 or below. But if we hold 638, we're looking for a bounce. I think we kind of consolidate here. We're going to see if we come down to fill that gap before it tries to bounce. As of right now, we're favoring upside. It looks like SPY wants to go higher, but we need to be a little bit safe right here and be a little bit careful because, like I said before, I still believe the market's in the topping process and we will be forming a top soon. So we're going to see if we go higher or not. Watch and see if 638 holds. If it holds, we're bullish. If not, we will turn down. So that's going to be a very, very key level. So as far as the news goes, keep in mind that today we got PCE data. Core PCE was at 0.3% month over month. And then all items PCE month over month was at 0.3%. Everything was aligned with expectations. Year over year, okay, we have good news. PCE year over year was at 2.6% for all items. That's basically aligned with expectations. And then core was at 2.8%, basically aligned with expectations. So the data did show a slight increase, but that is what we were expecting. Basically, we got numbers that were, better than previously expected. Not better than expected, but very close to expected. Excuse me, guys. Let me clarify on that. And then besides that, we have the Chicago PMI at 9:45 a.m., which could cause some volatility. So we'll have to see what that causes. But for now, the market's still holding up very well. I wouldn't be surprised if we come down to fill this gap. Of course, we're going to watch and see if we bounce off 638 to continue. If we come down and lose it, I'm going to be watching it very carefully on SPY. Now, President Trump has announced a South Korean trade deal. This is some major news. He claims that South Korea is going to give the U.S. $350 billion for investments owned and controlled by the U.S. So we're going to see how this ends up going. So what's happening? President Trump said that he is pleased to announce that the USA has agreed to a full and complete trade deal with the Republic of Korea. The deal is that South Korea will give the US $350 billion for investments owned and controlled by the US and selected by myself as president. In addition, South Korea is going to purchase $100 billion worth of LNG or other energy products. So that's some good news as well. And then he also said that South Korea is going to have open trade with the US and they're going to be charged 15% to trade with the US, and the US is not going to be charged a tariff. So that's what he's announcing so far in this deal. The market likes this news. So we're going to see if this continues or not. President Trump also mentioned that he's not happy with Jerome Powell. He called him too late Powell. He said he's too late. He's saying that he's incompetent, corrupt, and what he's doing is not good for the U.S. So that's his opinion. I respect his right to have an opinion on Jerome Powell, but keep in mind that, obviously he's not really happy about how FOMC went because Jerome Powell is just, he's Mr. Uncertainty. That's the best way I like describe him. He's very uncertain about the data, and we have to wait and see how things end up going. So you have to keep that in mind. So that's what's essentially going on, at least so far, with Powell. Powell also warned us that there are going to be inflationary risks, which is why he's keeping, he agrees with keeping rates higher for longer, especially as the U.S. economy could handle it. And there's going to be a dual mandate. But once again, President Trump is not happy with that. So the feud just kind of like continues. August 1st is the deadline, so we're going to see how this affects businesses. And then for yesterday, we had Meta and Microsoft announcing earnings. They're going to gap up very strongly. We're going to see how well they hold up. But then after market close, we have Apple and Amazon announcing their earnings. Besides that, I'm not seeing anything else that's too crazy on the news. So keep that in mind. And then Elon Musk and Tesla have announced a new ride-hail service for Tesla in the Bay Area region. So this is the picture right here. Now, the good news about this is that, this is going to expand their footprint in different areas. But the not so great news is that this is not necessarily going to be autonomous, meaning that there has to be a driver behind the wheel for this, okay? Because of regulations, Tesla can't just like launch a robo taxi and expect everyone to just accept it like that. and make it fully autonomous in California. There's going to be a lot of regulations they have to get past, and for now, they haven't really gone past everything. They're not approved to just, have a driverless service yet. It may take many months, it may take a good while to get it approved. But I'm not really concerned or worried because, if anything, I do believe Tesla will eventually get it approved. In Silicon Valley, they're going to get that approved. And then, secondly, it's not just that. The other thing is that they're going to also eventually expand in different areas. I think that's the most important thing about Tesla. The robotaxi is expanding as I speak, and it's going to grow like crazy. There's going to be an insane amount of growth coming. There's no telling how fast it's going to be, but this is still great news for Tesla. So that being said, let's talk about the charts real quick. So to me, oh, whoops, sorry about that. To me, it looks like SPY is going to come down to fill this gap. So there's going to be a bit of a dip when we open. This will take us closer to like 638, but we need to hold 638 to continue to push higher. If we don't hold 638, there's going to be a risk of us returning back down towards 635. So keep those levels in mind. We'll have to watch to see how well we hold up. So do we bounce off 638 and continue to climb, or do we end up just rejecting and lose that and just dump back down? Is this going to be a pump and dump move, and does the market fail? We'll see, just to be safe. So look for a small dip upon open to fill this gap, and we'll see if we bounce or not afterwards. We have to just wait and see. I can't make promises. We're waiting for the Chicago PMI data, and we're going to just have to see how well this holds up. I'm in the camp where, it is still possible the market tries to go higher. I would not rule that out. But at the same time, we don't know what's going to happen because it also depends on other factors. And later on in August/September, I do believe there's going to be a big pullback. So we're going to see if this is setting us up for the pullback or not. But I think we come down to fill this gap, and then we'll see if we bounce or not. So keep that in mind. Same thing with the QQQ. Now, the QQQ is very resilient right now. We have to see if 575 holds, excuse me. We could fill this gap, then it's still looking more bullish. It could be looking for like 578 plus. But if we lose 574, we're looking for a dip back down towards 569. So watch the 574 to 575 area. If that holds, we're bullish. If not, we could be dipping to like 570. So watch and see how things end up going. On the IW, we're making lower highs here. We're going to see if we could hold this 218 to 220 area. And then we'll see if we bounce, but I do anticipate some downside, at least nonetheless. For ES, we have a bearish divergence. We're going to see how this ends up reacting. We're looking for 64.29 to see if we bounce or not. I do think ES might dip a little bit. And we'll see if we bounce to continue to climb. If we lose 64.29, we're looking for a bigger decline to 6,400 or below. Look for a small dip, and we'll see if we bounce. NQ is consolidating. It might consolidate a bit here. And we're going to see if we lose 23,597 to dump, or if we continue to hold up. It is possible we just consolidate around 23,800. Then we're going to see which way it ends up going. So be very, very mindful of that. Bitcoin is rejecting. It could be dipping towards 117,500. We'll see if we bounce or not. Tesla's looking bullish with the ride-hailing service in California. I would not be surprised if we see 325. Then we'll see if it rejects off that or not. I don't know if it's going to break this white trend line, which is a tough resistance, or 330. It might not break that, but it could push for 325 temporarily as long as we don't lose 316. If 316 fails, we're bearish, but for now, we're going to be looking for a small push in Tesla. Nvda has tough resistance at 184. If we hold that, we're looking for new all-time highs. If we can't hold above 184, though, we could be dipping back down towards 180, so we'll see how well that holds up. Apple's looking for an attempt for basically 211. We're going to see if it rejects or not. AMD could be retesting 180, and we'll see if we bounce, but I do think this might be tipping a little bit. For Coinbase, we're looking for an attempt to push basically for that 390 area. However, we need to hold above 386 to remain bullish. If it doesn't, we could be filling the gap to 380, and then we'll see if we bounce to 390 or not. But look for a small dip to 380 and see if buyers defend. Amazon's starting to dip here. We need to hold above 237. If not, I could be looking for a retest of 234, and then we'll see if we bounce. Meta might be dipping towards 770. Google's looking a bit more bullish, favoring 200. And then Microsoft is also going to be testing 560. We need to break that to remain bullish. If not, we could slow down. The VIX is also pushing. It might be coming up to fill this gap as the market slows down just a bit. We might see a bit of a dip to fill this gap on SPY and also on the QQQ. But then we're going to see if we bounce off 638 on SPY. If we bounce off this, we're going to remain bullish. We need to hold 638 to remain bullish. If we don't, this is going to be dumping back down to like yesterday's levels. So keep that in mind, okay? With that being said, I thank you for listening. Have a good one, guys, and peace out.